Does Hollywood really create stars, or just smiling masks? What if I told you that the most dangerous place in Hollywood is not a haunted mansion, not a secret nightclub, not even a crime scene? It is a dressing room. A room with bright lights around a mirror. A room where a young actor looks at their own face and realizes something terrifying. The person staring back at them is no longer real. Because Hollywood did not ask them to become great. Hollywood asked them to become profitable. It asked them to smile when they were exhausted, to laugh when they were broken, to say I'm grateful when they were being controlled, and sometimes to stay silent when silence was the price of a career. This is not just a story about fame. This is a story about masks. The kind of masks that win Oscars. The kind of masks that trend on social media. The kind of masks that millions of people worship without ever knowing the face underneath has been crying for years. So tonight, we ask one question. Does Hollywood really create stars? Or does it only create smiling masks? To understand the answer, you have to forget the red carpet for a moment. Forget the flashbulbs. Forget the gowns, the interviews, the luxury cars, the perfect teeth, the perfect skin, the perfect little wave to the camera. Because behind the red carpet, there is another carpet, a darker one nobody wants you to look at for too long. It runs through closed-door auditions, through hotel rooms where powerful men once promised dreams, through child actors who grew up in front of cameras before they understood the cost, through writers who created worlds while fighting to pay rent, through background actors afraid that one scan of their face could become a digital ghost that works forever, and through movie sets where the fantasy looked beautiful until someone did not come home. Hollywood sells one product better than anyone else on Earth: hope. Every year, thousands of people arrive in Los Angeles with a suitcase, a headshot, and one dangerous belief. Maybe I'm different. They believe the city will notice them.
They believe talent will be enough. They believe if they work hard, if they stay humble, if they take one more unpaid meeting, one more humiliating audition, one more role with 2 lines and no credit, then one day someone will open the door. But Hollywood does not open doors for everyone. Sometimes it opens doors just wide enough for people to crawl through. And when they crawl in, they discover the first rule. You are not a person yet. You are a product being tested. Your face is tested. Your pain is tested. Can you cry on command? Can you flirt with a stranger? Can you lose weight by Friday? Can you pretend everything is fine while your phone has 3 missed calls from your landlord? Can you smile when the casting director says, "You're great, but we need someone more marketable"? That word, marketable, is one of Hollywood's softest knives. It sounds professional, but to the person hearing it, it can mean you are too old, too dark, too ethnic, too plain, too heavy, too difficult, too honest, too human. So they change. They whiten their teeth. They shrink their bodies. They erase parts of their voice. They learn how to answer questions without saying anything real. They learn how to become safe. And slowly, the dream begins to work like a machine. It takes an original human being and polishes them until they reflect whatever the public wants to see. That is when the mask begins. The public thinks fame means freedom. But in Hollywood, fame often begins with control. A rising star does not simply become famous. They are packaged. A team decides the haircut, the wardrobe, the relationship rumors, the interview tone, the social media captions, even the apology if one day the star says the wrong thing. The world sees confidence.
But behind the camera, there may be a terrified young person asking, "Can I say no?" And the answer is often hidden in the room, not spoken directly, just understood. If you say no, someone else will say yes. If you complain, you become difficult. If you expose something, you become dangerous. If you tell the truth, the machine may simply replace you with someone more obedient. That is why so many people learn the Hollywood smile.
It is not happiness, it is survival. It says, I'm fine. It says, I love this industry. It says, I'm so lucky to be here. Even when the person wearing it is wondering how much of themselves they have already lost. There is a phrase that has haunted Hollywood for decades, the casting couch. It sounds like gossip. It sounds old-fashioned. It sounds like something from another era. But the darker truth is that the phrase survived because the power behind it survived. For generations, ambitious performers entered rooms where the rules were never written down. A producer did not have to threaten them. He only had to suggest. A director did not have to say, I can ruin you. He only had to make the actor understand that his approval could change their life. That is the nightmare of unequal power. The threat does not have to be loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it wears a suit. Sometimes it smiles and says, relax, we're all adults here. And the person on the other side of the room knows exactly what is being asked. Not because anyone explained it, but because Hollywood has always been fluent in silence. The most chilling part is not only what happened to some victims, it is how many people around them seem to know enough to look away. Assistants, agents, executives, friends, people who heard rumors, people who saw patterns, people who whispered warnings instead of making reports. Don't be alone with him. Don't take that meeting. Don't go to that hotel. Imagine hearing that sentence in the city where your dream is supposed to begin. Imagine realizing the monster is not hiding outside the gate. The monster has an office, a company credit card,
a reputation, and sometimes an award on the shelf. In normal life, when something terrible happens, people tell you, speak up. In Hollywood, many survivors learned a different lesson. Speak up, and you may never work again. A career in entertainment is not like a normal job. There is no simple ladder, no guarantee, no safe path. Your future depends on relationships, reputation, calls, rooms, recommendations, invitations. That makes fear incredibly powerful. Because when your career is built on being chosen, the threat of being quietly unchosen can control your entire life. No one has to blacklist you publicly. They just stop calling. Your auditions disappear, your agent becomes distant, your name becomes complicated. And suddenly, the city that once promised to make you visible makes you vanish. This is how silence becomes a business model. Not always through one villain, sometimes through a whole ecosystem of people protecting access, money, and reputation. The machine tells the victim, "Are you sure you want to make this ugly?" But the truth was already ugly. The mask only made it profitable. Now imagine the same machine, but the person inside it is a child who does not understand contracts, a child who cannot fully understand power, a child who sees adults laughing at jokes that feel strange, uncomfortable, or humiliating, a child who learns that being cute, funny, mature, and available is not just praised, it is paid. Hollywood has always loved child stars. They are innocent, marketable, emotional, and easy for audiences to love. But childhood and fame are a dangerous combination, because fame does not wait for the brain to grow. Fame arrives early, with pressure, with strangers, with money, with cameras, with adults who may have too much access and not enough supervision. The public sees the child on screen and says, "They're so talented." But behind the scenes, that child may be learning lessons no child should learn. How to perform joy while confused. How to be polite to adults who make them uncomfortable. How to keep working even when they are tired. How to become a brand before becoming a person. And when they grow up, the public often asks the cruelest question: what happened to them? As if the breakdown came from nowhere. As if the industry did not put a child inside a machine, turn the lights up, take the profit, and then act surprised when the child became an injured adult. Some former child actors have spoken about toxic sets, emotional damage, financial exploitation,
and the strange grief of realizing that millions of people remember a version of them that never truly belonged to them. That is one of Hollywood's darkest illusions. It can steal a childhood and sell it back to the world as nostalgia. Chapter 6: The Beauty Trap. Hollywood does not only direct movies, it directs bodies. It tells women to stay young forever. It tells men to become superheroes by summer. It tells teenagers to look 25 and 30-year-olds to look 18. It tells actors that every wrinkle is a threat, every pound is a headline, every candid photo is evidence. A star cannot simply exist. They must be ready to be judged at the gas station, at the airport, outside the gym, leaving a hospital, crying in a car, eating a sandwich, aging like a human being. That is why the mask becomes physical. Makeup, surgery rumors, extreme diets, training until collapse, smiling through interviews while the body is treated like public property. The audience thinks it is watching beauty, but sometimes it is watching punishment. A person becomes a billboard for an impossible standard, and then millions of viewers look in the mirror and hate themselves for not looking like someone whose entire job is to look unreal. Hollywood does not just create insecurity inside the industry, it exports it, one perfect face at a time. The public sees a movie and thinks of actors, maybe directors, maybe the studio logo. But every illusion is built by invisible people: writers, editors, assistants, makeup artists, drivers, stunt performers, background actors, camera crews, visual effects artists, people working brutal hours so the fantasy can be delivered on time.
How to be polite to adults who make them uncomfortable. How to keep working even when they are tired. How to become a brand before becoming a person. And when they grow up, the public often asks the cruelest question: what happened to them? As if the breakdown came from nowhere. As if the industry did not put a child inside a machine, turn the lights up, take the profit, and then act surprised when the child became an injured adult. Some former child actors have spoken about toxic sets, emotional damage, financial exploitation, and the strange grief of realizing that millions of people remember a version of them that never truly belonged to them. That is one of Hollywood's darkest illusions. It can steal a childhood and sell it back to the world as nostalgia. Hollywood does not only direct movies, it directs bodies. It tells women to stay young forever. It tells men to become superheroes by summer. It tells teenagers to look 25 and 30-year-olds to look 18. It tells actors that every wrinkle is a threat, every pound is a headline, every candid photo is evidence. A star cannot simply exist. They must be ready to be judged at the gas station, at the airport, outside the gym, leaving a hospital, crying in a car, eating a sandwich, aging like a human being. That is why the mask becomes physical. Makeup, surgery rumors, extreme diets, training until collapse, smiling through interviews while the body is treated like public property. The audience thinks it is watching beauty, but sometimes it is watching punishment. A person becomes a billboard for an impossible standard, and then millions of viewers look in the mirror and hate themselves for not looking like someone whose entire job is to look unreal. Hollywood does not just create insecurity inside the industry, it exports it, one perfect face at a time. The public sees a movie and thinks of actors, maybe directors, maybe the studio logo. But every illusion is built by invisible people: writers, editors, assistants, makeup artists, drivers, stunt performers, background actors, camera crews, visual effects artists, people working brutal hours so the fantasy can be delivered on time.
Hollywood loves to say, "We are a family." But sometimes, family is the word companies use when they want sacrifice without complaint. People are told to be grateful. Grateful to be on set. Grateful to be near greatness. Grateful to be exhausted. Grateful to have a chance. But gratitude does not pay rent. Exposure does not buy groceries. A dream job can still exploit you. That is why the Hollywood strikes shook the industry so deeply. Because beneath the glamour, many workers were asking a simple question. If our stories make billions, why are so many of us struggling to survive? Streaming changed the business. Technology changed the business.
But the people creating the art were asking not to be erased by the business. They were asking for pay, protection, transparency, a future. And then came the next fear. Not just being underpaid, being replaced. Imagine you are a background actor. You show up before sunrise. You sit in wardrobe. You wait for hours. You earn a modest paycheck. Then someone scans your face, your body, your movements. And one day, you wonder, will this version of me work forever? Will my digital double appear in scenes I never filmed? Will my face belong to a studio after I leave the set? This is not science fiction anymore. Hollywood has entered the age of the digital ghost. A voice can be cloned. A face can be recreated. A dead actor can be resurrected. A young actor can be aged. An old actor can be made young again. To audiences, it looks like magic. To performers, it can feel like a warning. Because the mask no longer has to be worn by the person. The mask can survive without them. That may be the most disturbing question of modern Hollywood. What happens when the industry does not need your body, only the data your body leaves behind? A star used to fear being forgotten. Now, they may have to fear being copied forever.
Hollywood is built on pretending danger is safe. Fake guns, fake blood, fake crashes, fake screams. But sometimes, the line between performance and reality breaks. And when it breaks, people die. Every tragedy on a film set reminds us of something the audience rarely thinks about. Movies are workplaces, not fantasies. Workplaces, with safety rules, chains of responsibility, human error, pressure, budgets, deadlines. A scene can look breathtaking on screen, but behind it may be a crew member standing in the cold for 14 hours, a stunt performer taking one more risk, a camera operator trusting that every safety check was done correctly, a cinematographer looking through the lens, believing the prop in front of them is harmless. Hollywood can create the illusion of control, but illusion is not safety. And when safety fails, no award can reverse what happened. No premiere can bring someone back. No speech can turn grief into entertainment. Here is the part nobody wants to admit. Hollywood did not build the mask alone. We helped. Every time we demanded perfection, every time we mocked a star for aging, every time we clicked on a breakdown, every time we turned a young person's pain into entertainment, every time we said they chose this life. Did they? Did a 12-year-old choose it? Did a struggling actor choose to be cornered by power? Did a writer choose to create hit shows while losing stability? Did a performer choose to have their face scanned into a future they cannot control? Or did they choose a dream and discover the dream had teeth? The truth is, Hollywood feeds on attention, and we are the ones feeding it. We say we hate the machine, then we reward it with views. We say celebrities should be real, then we punish them when they are. We say we want truth.
Then we click the lie, because the lie is prettier. That is why the mask stays on. Not only because studios demand it, but because the audience often does too. So, does Hollywood create stars? Yes, but not the way we think. Hollywood can take talent and amplify it. It can take a voice and send it across the world. It can take a face and turn it into a symbol. It can create unforgettable art. But it can also do something darker. It can take a human being and separate them from themselves. It can teach them that love is measured in ticket sales, that beauty is measured in youth, that truth is dangerous, that silence is professional, that pain must be hidden until it can be monetized. And maybe that is why so many Hollywood smiles look perfect, but never peaceful. Because behind some of those smiles is a person asking, if they saw the real me, would they still clap? The Hollywood sign sits on a hill like a promise. 9 white letters above Los Angeles.
To tourists, it means dreams. To the industry, it means money. But to the people who have survived the machine, maybe it means something else. A warning that the higher the spotlight rises, the darker the shadow becomes. So the next time you see a star on a red carpet, waving, laughing, glowing under the lights, look closely, not with cruelty, with understanding. Because maybe you are not looking at a dream come true. Maybe you are looking at a mask, a beautiful mask, a famous mask, a mask that knows exactly when to smile. And maybe, somewhere underneath it, there is still a real person waiting to be found. Hollywood does not always create stars. Sometimes, it creates ghosts that the world mistakes for light.